Oh my gosh, welcome everyone. I am so excited to share my very first virtual book launch with you. I hope that you are dialing in through Facebook, through LinkedIn, wherever you are. I am just so happy that you are here and sharing this moment with me. It has been 18 months in the making, and the day is finally here. So, thank you and welcome. So let's start with some food for thought here. So just yesterday, as I was wrapping up my day at work at the office, I closed my computer, still had probably 40 unread emails. My to-do list was completely untouched. And I looked around the office and thought, what did I actually do all day? Have you ever felt that way? If you have, give me a thumbs up or some kind of emoji in the chat so that I know we're on the same wavelength here, because that means that you are buried in business and we are here to get unburied. So I'm going to give you a quick agenda so that you know what to expect. This will be recorded. So if you need to hop off at any time, just do so. It'll be recorded. You'll have access to it later. And here's what we're going to go through today. I have it blocked off for an hour and a half. If we wrap up early, that's always a good thing. And I know if you spend time in meetings, you know what I'm talking about. So let's get to the agenda here. So first and foremost, as you are sharing your excitement about this book on social media, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and use the hashtag buried in business. That way I can go through and I can sort through them real quick and give you a shout out whenever you do that. And if you can, tag me too. That would be awesome. So first, what I'm going to do is give you an exclusive reading from the book. It's just going to be a lot of fun because I actually animated it for you. Then we're going to introduce some special guests that have played some important roles in the behind the scenes making of Buried in Business. Then I'll talk about the giveaways and how to enter. Yes, there will be giveaways today and I will mail them to you. Then we're going to introduce Here for the Girls, which is a very, very special nonprofit, very close to me, that has supported me through my cancer journey. Then we're going to introduce our first guest speaker, who is Dr. Stefan Zavalin. He's going to share some words of wisdom with us. Then we'll take a short break. We're going to get some book sales updates, some live updates, so we can see how we're doing on Amazon. Then I'll introduce our next guest, Rachel Malpasso, business owner, and she'll share her feedback on the book and how you can use the framework for remote work. And then Hannah and I will get together for an exclusive Q&A all about the book and any of the questions that you may have. So if you think of any questions throughout this entire event, please put them in the chat. We will capture them and we will definitely talk about them towards the end. And then finally, I'll do one more reading from the book. We'll do a wrap up and we will toast to the launch of Buried in Business. So welcome and let's get started. So a little bit about the book. Many of us in the workforce spend our days just fighting fires and addressing other people's concerns, answering questions, getting buried in the business. Our day just flies by, getting important things done. But there are lots of books out there about leadership. There's lots of books out there about business strategy. But in my experience, I've come across many business owners who would love to do those business strategy books and programs, but they can't even get themselves unburied from the business. So I started to think to myself, what could be that first baby step just to get them unburied so that they can think big and they can take their business to the next level? Because you can't think about strategy when you're buried. And what I have realized is there is a gap in the business world and in the literature world, an administrative gap. See, business leaders were buried in administrative burden, waiting too long to hire and just mismanaging the support they have. But I want to change that because administration doesn't have to be a burden. And here's the good news. You already have the tools to get unburied in your business. You just need to unlock them. The power is in your admin team. So now I'd like to share with you a short video from Chapter 10.
Chapter 10. Imagine an admin assistant in a house, all documents neatly stacked on the desk. The windows are wide open. And as the owner or manager passes by like a tornado, wind whips through the house, the dust kicks up, papers go flying, alarm bells start ringing, and new information comes rushing in through the windows. The admin is left in their wake, cleaning up, reorganizing, and trying to figure out where to file the new information. I'd love to tell every entrepreneur, don't be a tornado, but sometimes this is what we love about them. Innovative, creative visionaries can be tornadoes. They spring ideas on their teams, change their minds, and chase shiny objects. They are simultaneously inspiring and frustrating. If you are the tornado, don't stop. However, I will ask that you give your admin team some tools to withstand your winds when they blow through. We're going to perform some basic home maintenance. We're going to clean up some messes, change the filters, and reset the alarms. With an effective and efficient team, you can posture your business for growth. Read more in Buried in Business.
Okay, so how many of you can relate to being the tornado? If you're the tornado, you definitely need this book. And how many of you can relate to working for a tornado? If you work for a tornado, you definitely need this book. So here's the next thing that I want to do. I am so honored to be able to introduce to you a few people who have worked with me behind the scenes in making of Buried in Business. And I am excited that a few of them are here with us today during the virtual launch. The first person that I would like to introduce is Amber Vilhauer. Amber is a book launch and digital marketing expert. As many of you know, I am addicted to podcasts. And my podcast addiction actually led me to Amber through listening to a podcast by Mike Michalowicz, author of Profit First, who also works with Amber. And she has provided me with coaching early on in the marketing of my book and in building the website, jamievanek.com. So I introduce to you Amber. Hi, Amber, and thank you so much for being here today.
Jamie, this is the best. This is absolutely the best being here. And I just had a company meeting about 30 minutes ago, about an hour ago. And my whole company was just singing your praises, Jamie, from the moment we first met you to today. I mean, it's just, we're so proud of you and everything that you've accomplished. And I stand full-heartedly behind this book. So really, congratulations for your release day. It's so cool.
Thank you so much. I know you have been involved in so many book launches. I am an amateur at this, but I learned just so much through watching what you do and through all of the guidance that you have given me along the way. So thank you for that and helping make this a success.
Well, it's really an honor because for those of you watching, like my impression of Jamie is she's all heart. She's very dedicated, extremely loyal, committed. The work that she's doing really is in lifting up the organization that she works with and then trying to go outside of that on her own time and to really grow a following for this work. And I have to tell you, as a CEO of a very busy company that I've had for 15 years, this work is needed. I really don't have a lot of other resources that I could point to when it comes to, really giving my admin team the support that they need and also learning what I could be doing to better support them as well. So, I mean, the work is just invaluable. And just watching how, Jamie, you have taken such a stand for this message, and you've really overcome a lot of learning, a lot of new experiences, like video, seeing you on live stream. It's just, it looks like you're a natural. You've been doing this your whole life, but a lot of this was very new for you, Jamie. And I'm just extremely proud. I have pointed so many of my authors to you, Jamie, as the example of what to model. So I know you say, I'm an amateur and I haven't done this. I don't. You learn and execute very well, my friend. But really, I mean, I would just sum up to also add that, I talk to a lot of business owners all day, every day. That's sort of my job in NGNG. Is I see a lot of entrepreneurs and speakers and authors coming in that really want to help positively shape their industry, whatever it is. So I have a really unique vantage point of what's happening right now in the world and the landscape of business in different industries, and even at a global economic level as well. And I can tell you that, a lot of businesses are going to need as much support as possible in order to continue to profit and sustain the message and the vision and the cause that they stand behind. And that is why it is absolutely vital that all of you listening, whether live or on a replay, please do something to help Jamie get her message out into the world. This is not me just kind of puffing her up and making her feel good. I actually believe that, Jamie's message and the way that she has presented her framework for admin and, streamlining operations and creating more harmony in the business. Every business needs this right now in order to continue their message in sort of some uncertain times ahead. So the ways, in my opinion, if I may, Jamie, that you could help her get her message out into the world is, number one, through your own network. Make introductions to her. If you know somebody that has a podcast or that might be willing to have Jamie come in and speak or place a bulk order. I ordered multiple copies of her book that I'm distributing throughout my team because I really want to follow her leadership and advice. So, is there a bulk order that you want to place? Do you want to promote on social media or something else that I'm not even thinking of in this moment? But please do something, because I know that a lot of individuals right now are feeling overwhelmed or anxious, or your to-do list is a mile long. But we also have to take pause when we recognize a really good human trying to make a positive change and impact in this world. And that is Jamie. And when we come across people like that, it's important that we stop whatever we're doing and we show up and we really support that individual so that collectively we can all, be better together. So that's what I just wanted to come in and share, Jamie. I don't, I'm just celebrating you. I'm really honoring you. I have tremendous respect for you. And if there's anything I can do now or ongoing to support you, I'm all in for it. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Amber. You've been an inspiration to me. You have helped me get out of my comfort zone, especially on social media, because that is where I struggled the most when I first started promoting the book. And my comfort level has skyrocketed from our first conversation. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and saying a few words, Amber. I appreciate it. All right. So one of the things that Amber taught me early on is when I'm making videos to just kind of be natural and not read a script. But I'm going to tell you right now, I've got a little script on the other side of my screen. So if you see me look over there, I just need to make sure I stay on track because I promised an agenda to you. And I'm a type A person, and I'm going to follow the agenda just like following the framework in Buried in Business. So let me just reset for a second. Thank you so much, Amber, for those words. It was very, very touching. So there are a few other people that were involved in the making of Buried in Business. And Mary Anna Rodabaugh is part of my writing team. She was my coach when I first started. So she was involved at the very earliest phases of this book. And she is here today. She's not going to speak live, but I do have a video from her that I'm going to share. But Mariana and I got together for about 6 months every single Friday so that she could review what I wrote, gives me some feedback, give me some pointers, help me when I got stuck in my writing process. And I will tell you, she has seen the evolution of this book. It started as letters to our boss. It evolved into spider webs and rooms and all kinds of different weird metaphors. And eventually she helped draw out the metaphor of the Adminovate model house, the A-frame house that is for your admin. So I want to share a video with you from Mariana.
I'm Mariana Verteva, and I am a writing coach and editor. And I have been working with Jamie before her book even had a title. In fact, Buried in Business has been through so much transformation since Jamie decided she wanted to write a book to today. And I'm so incredibly proud of the work that she has done. Jamie took this book and this idea, and she was willing to morph and change and be open to new ideas. She was open to sharing a little bit of her story, and that openness allowed her to develop this instrumental framework that is woven throughout the book, that'll hopefully transform admin moving forward. And it just was so much fun meeting with her weekly and discussing different chapters and watching her set these goals for herself and then meet them and really turn this book into what it is today. And I know even after we were done working together, Jamie went on and did even more work on the book to make it even better and more powerful. And I cannot wait to read it. And I cannot wait to see what it does in this world. But it was a lot of fun working alongside Jamie. And like I said, I'm just so incredibly proud of her and excited to see this book out into the world.
Thank you so much, Mariana. And if you are here watching, hi, and thank you for everything that you did for me to bring this book to life. I also want to say hi to Ashley. Ashley is part of Merrick Publishing, and her and I work together a lot to refine the book, make the final edits and changes, and do all of the wonderful design. So they helped me with the design of the cover, the back cover, and all of the graphics that are inside. So thank you so much for your support with that. I am just ecstatic with the way that it turned out. So next, I want to talk to you about giveaways. If you are here attending live, you are automatically entered for a giveaway. And I have a great package to share with you, because if you are here supporting this, that means you're somehow involved in business, or you might be like my mom or dad. So hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. But for the rest of you attending truly for the business books, I want to share with you some very special authors and some very special things are included in this gift package. It includes some swag. Of course, it includes a signed copy of Buried in Business, but it also has two great books. We have number one, Death of the Org Chart. This is written by Walt Brown. Walt was one of my business coaches through my construction company, and he brought a lot of great ideas and structures to our organization beyond just administration. And this book is really a blueprint for elevating your organization into the modern world, because people now, they want clarity. They want to know exactly what's expected of them. They want accountability. And Walt's book does all that throughout the entire organization. He takes the org chart and kills it. And then he rebuilds it with a organizational graph, which is really interesting to read about. So that is included. You'll get that bonus. And then the other one that is included in addition to the swag is a book called The 4% Breakthrough. And this is another exceptional book for entrepreneurs. It is by Dr. Lance Knob, and he is here with us today. He'll say a few words about it, but I just wanted to give you a brief introduction. So he is the founder of Denali Consulting, and he's all about helping entrepreneurs live the life of their dreams. So hi, Lance, welcome.
Hey, Jamie, thank you so much for having me and congratulations. This is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited for you. I can remember when we were connected by my editor, Matt Macon, and you were very early in the process, and you were so passionate about kind of, at that time, you were actually crystallizing your message, really. And it's so wonderful to see you having brought it all together. And thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your initial drafts and, refining your message. And you've absolutely delivered. The book is amazing. I can't wait for my bulk order. As Amber spoke about, please, everyone, grab not only a copy for yourself, but grab copies for all your entrepreneurial friends and leaders and your team. And, Jamie, we have so much in common with our passions. I know you're really focused on serving, entrepreneurs and leaders who are feeling overwhelmed and helping them get systems in place and get organized with systems and processes, and also to help them really help people become superheroes. So for you, I know you're really trying to make sure we don't, as leaders and owners, don't overlook our admin team, right? But really, we want all of our people and all of our best people, our capable people, to blossom and spread their wings and fly. And frankly, admins, this is a totally overlooked area. And thank, goodness that you've, really discovered this as an area of need to help all of us as entrepreneurs, grow and expand and achieve our visions, really. So as far as the 4% breakthrough goes, thanks everybody for, joining the launch. Hopefully you can win this. It's a simple book that's about personal development as kind of step one. It's really a process on how to scale your business and stay healthy at the same time. So the first step is about personal development. The second step is about business fundamentals and some of the basic building blocks and of those. And lastly, it's how to intertwine your lifestyle and some of the essential health components into that. So mindset, nutrition, exercise, posture and ergonomics, and sleep, right? Some of the basics. So Jamie, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your celebration today, and honored to share in the actual giveaway. So it's all good. Congrats.
Thank you so much, Lance. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. You've been a great connector in helping entrepreneurs from across the country connect with one another and network. So thank you for all that you have done in that space.
For sure. Yeah. And, it's been fun being side by side with you, serving other people. I know how amazingly talented you are. Like when we spend time in the hot seat together, and, you have so much passion for serving other entrepreneurs. This book is going to bring so much good to the world.
Thank you. All right, so special announcement here. As Lance was speaking, I got a special delivery, and my husband doesn't want to be on camera, so he's just handing me this lovely bouquet. But we just were delivered this amazing bouquet. Isn't that beautiful? And it's actually, part of the colors. I'm trying to see who it's from so I can thank them if they're on here. It is from the Merrick Publishing team. Very well timed. Thank you so much, Ashley, and all of you. This is absolutely gorgeous and a very nice surprise during the launch. Okay, so back to the gifts. So we have those 3 awesome business books that we're going to be giving away in the gift pack, along with some extra swag. And like I said, if you're here, I will contact you. If you are a winner, I'll get your information and I'll mail that out to you. And just to give you a little sneak peek, it's wrapped in this beautiful wrapping here with a little Buried in Business chocolate on the top. My daughter did all these nice bows for me, and my sons helped me tape the back. So it is made with a labor of love. And I hope that you enjoy them. Okay, so before we bring on our next guest, I want to take a moment to get a little bit more serious with you. and redirect your attention to something that is very, very special to me. As you know, I have battled breast cancer in 2016 and was recently diagnosed again. Honestly, I had the conversation with my surgeon about the book launch so that we could schedule the surgery around the book launch, because this is that important to me that I didn't have to postpone it. But they were wonderful and they work with me, totally understood, and it doesn't impact my diagnosis. But I do want to share a quick story with you. So during my first diagnosis, and I went through chemotherapy, my daughter at the time was 7 years old. And I had gone through a majority of my chemo. I had lost all of my hair, lost my eyebrows, my eyelashes, everything. You even lose your nose hair, which is a really strange thing that nobody ever talks about. And you don't realize how important that is until you don't have any. But I'll digress here. So there was one day when I was totally bald and we were headed out to church, got into the car, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I forgot my scarf. And I went to get out of the car to go get my scarf. And my daughter, who was 7 years old at the time, without even thinking twice, she looked at me and she said, Mom, you don't need a scarf. Just be confident. And I was like, that was the proudest moment of my life. For her to encourage me to be confident in myself, regardless of what was going on the outside. And those words of wisdom from a 7-year-old have stayed with me and have given me the confidence to pursue my dream of publishing a book. Because there is now something inside of me that when I have an idea, there's always this voice that says, just be confident, or just take the next step. And that's how I got started with writing this book. And this is also why I have partnered with a very special organization called Here for the Girls. Here for the Girls is they're a nonprofit who supports young women with breast cancer. So we all know about breast cancer. Many people know someone who has had breast cancer, but very rarely is it someone who is diagnosed under the age of 50. I was 36 during my first diagnosis. And so we're at a very different point in our lives when we have this diagnosis at a young age, and it's a very different journey. So Here for the Girls was instrumental in helping me through that initial journey. And so I am partnering with them to donate proceeds from the sales of Buried in Business today to donate to Here for the Girls. And I want to share a video with you to introduce you to that organization and their mission.
A moment and close your eyes. Imagine sitting there and hearing the words, "You have cancer." In a flash, you are sent into a whirlwind of emotions, many of which are completely out of your immediate control. You are projected into uncertainty. Open your eyes. How did that feel? What thoughts race through your mind? This is just the beginning of the shared experience our members face when they are diagnosed with breast cancer. Young women face many different challenges because of their age and where they are at in life. Challenges that can impact them far beyond diagnosis and treatment. We offer a safe and inclusive environment for our members. We offer education, social, and psychosocial support in the form of groups, activities, events, and workshops. We offer one-on-one connections with peers or trained social workers. We offer resources and referrals to help our members. But most importantly, we meet our members where they are at. And every time you support H4TG, whether that's monetarily, through services or time, or letting someone else know about this sisterhood, you too are leaning in. So on behalf of all of us at H4TG, thank you for being here for the girls. Thank you for being part of the transformation.
If you looked closely in those last 3 photos with the group of women in the green shirts on the beach, you would have seen me in there with my short hair and my headscarf, just about a year after my initial diagnosis. That happened during a retreat that they do every single year for a very special group of women. That's just transformational. So thank you for participating in that. And if you weren't going to buy the book for the stellar content, then buy it for the donation. So, all right, let's get back to business here. So my next guest is Dr. Stefan Zavalin. Stefan is a motion mentor driven to change desk work, admin work, culture. Now, despite losing his vision in graduate school, Stefan hosts Scared Sitless, an interactive virtual show that's one of a kind. I've watched it. It is one of a kind in his field, and it helps companies adapt their culture and improve productivity and health. Since starting his company, Love to Move, he's written a book titled Sit Less and given a TEDx talk on the same subject. Stefan has taken the concepts in Buried in Business and applies them to getting more healthy movement in our organizations. So welcome, Stefan. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I feel so interested following all of that. It's interesting to hear your journey. I think now if people, I'm going to talk about the content of the book, but everybody should get the book just for the donation alone. So now you're getting all of that and giveaways, and how amazing is all of that? That's fantastic.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Share some wisdom with us.
Absolutely. Well, before I get started, so my name is Stefan. I have 3 things that you need to know about me. First thing is I love purple. It's this kind of purple. It's not lavender. I'm sure there's some of you out there that have a favorite color and you go, no, there's a specific shade. Don't give me the maroon reds. I like the brighter reds, whatever it is. This is my favorite color, purple. I absolutely love it. The second part is that I am blind. So as much as you may want, you can put stuff in the chat. I can't see it. It's more kind of all blurry for me, and you can talk bad about me all you want. I won't know until after, but maybe Jamie or Hannah will get on your case in that entire part of it. But what we're going to be talking about today is I got to read part of Jamie's book, and I wanted to talk about a bit of it. Now, Jamie already told you that there's a lot of this model of a house, and she uses a metaphor of a house throughout the entire part of it. I recently became a dad. When I say recently, literally last week. So he's not even a week old, but I had to think about, okay, how do kids draw houses? Because that's about where my drawing level is. So I had to, work with what I've got. And so I started to research and thinking about how little kids would draw a house. So inevitably, starting with a square, I did extensive research on Google Images, by the way. This is how all of this came to be. Usually the roof is a triangle. It's almost always red or some kind of a dark orange, something like that. There's inevitably a front door, in my case, purple. I told you I love purple. We're coming back to it. And then most have a chimney. Now, the little catch is it's about 50-50 split of chimney on the left or chimney on the right. So I went with chimney on both sides, just in case. And then it's also about a 50-50 split of whether or not there's smoke coming out. So we said, all right, let's have a little smoke coming out of the chimney. And so that's my house. Now there's something missing. There's something really important missing. And it's not the sun. A lot of kids draw a sun. I'll be the sunshine for these next 10 minutes. It's not the trees. It's not the clouds. It's the 3rd chapter of Jamie's book. It's the windows. That's what it is. It is the windows into this house and finding that transparency that we can see into it, as well as see out of it, as well as opening the windows to let things flow. It is that beautiful concept. Now, reading this chapter, I got 3 things out of it that I really started implementing for myself as well. The 3 things are communication, measurement, and flow. Communication, measurement, and flow. So let's start with communication. Pretty simple. If you have things sealed off and you don't have the open windows and the open communications, you can't see what other people are doing, you can't communicate the necessity of tasks in your business, problematic. Because people might be doing things they think are right, but really, what is the overall point? So the story, since we're talking about family for me, comes from my family when I was younger. Now, quick story, I hate eggplant. I don't like it. It is mushy. It is slimy. I am not a big fan of eggplant whatsoever. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. It's just the way that I am. Okay, get out of here. My family, however, seemed to always love eggplant. My mother would always cook eggplant, and I kept on going, why do I have to suffer through this? Eventually, I asked my mom, I said, hey, Mom, why do you cook eggplant? Do you love it so much? She said, no, your dad and your brother love eggplant. I cook it for them. I actually hate eggplant. And so the years kept going and they kept going. And finally, I had enough. I seemed to be the one family member that always pushed the questions and the boundaries. And I finally asked my brother and my dad, I'm like, guys, why do we always eat eggplant? What do you like about it? It's not that good. I don't enjoy it. And they go, Stefan, you don't understand. Your mother loves eggplant. She makes it all the time. And we have to eat it because she loves it so much. Luckily, I had the wisdom to just bring the whole family together and say, guys, enough with the eggplant. Please get it out of here. But us lacking that communication completely hindered many of our dinners. And yes, my mom likes eggplant and certain things, but overall, we no longer eat eggplant in the house. So the first part is communication that I got from the opening the windows. The second part is measurement. Now, when it comes to measurement, I got my doctorate in physical therapy. And as a physical therapist, there are a lot of measurements that we do, right? We can measure the joints. We can measure special tests of seeing how people progress, all of these things. In terms of business, as a physical therapist, you're also measuring various things. How much time did you spend with patients? How many visits do they have? How much are you billing? And how much does it cost? All of these things add up. Now, it is important because if we have that transparency of windows, we can see and we can measure and then we can get results. But I actually want to tell you a little bit of a warning story of where measurement and communication can butt heads and where it's important to have both. So, as I mentioned, I'm blind. And initially, when I started in the clinic, I could still read. I couldn't drive at that point, but I could still at least read. And my blindness kind of kept on going more and more to where things got blurrier and I couldn't read anymore. Now, my numbers, the amount of patients I was seeing, how much time I was spending with them, they started out great and then they were kind of dwindling because now documentation was harder. You know, it was just a little bit more and a little bit stressful on me, more time that I had to put in. All that my bosses could see is, hey, his numbers are going down. This isn't really working. And it wasn't until I finally got the diagnosis of saying, hey guys, I'm blind. There's an actual reason for it, that they were able to see it, until I could actually measure my blindness in that way, that they were able to go, oh, this is why. Let's now figure out a way to make this work. And so when you take communication and you take the measurement and you really put them together and they work well together because you have these windows and open lines of communication and measuring things, you get flow. That is where we are all trying to get to, is this flow of information on all these processes that you have set up. Flow is beautiful. You can even think of it as airflow. We want to work in a place that is full of flow, because if we think about it, what are the places that don't have windows? If it's in a room, if you're in a room that doesn't have windows, usually that's going to be a basement. Most people don't really want to work in a basement. We want to work up at the top with all the windows. And I'm going to steal this one from the actual chapter in the book, in Jamie's book. If you're working in a building without windows, pretty much an outhouse. And that's a shitty place to work. It truly is. I also stole that pun from Jamie. I'm sorry, but you can look forward to it in the book. So when it comes to it, for me, putting all of these together, the way that I help people reduce the amount that they're sitting and helping them get more movement in their life and in their work, I know that there has to be a communication of how do they like to move, because it's not about exercise that I talk about. I talk about reducing sitting. Measurement. How much are they sitting? Maybe they're doing a great job. How much inefficiency do they have in their work? And finally, flow. Because when it all comes down to it, when we can move the way that we need to, we don't think about it. So me doing these presentations or doing any Zoom meetings standing up, I don't think about the fact that I'm standing up. I'm just doing a Zoom meeting. It's all flowing and there's movement throughout my life. So I have the communication, I have the measurement, and I have the flow, all because of the windows and all because of Jamie's book. So that is the wonderful message that comes across there. And if you are interested in any of the other random things that I do, by all means, feel free. You can grab your phone and scan any of these QR codes. I told you, purple for the website. But other than that, the biggest thing that you can do is, especially with the donation bit, get the book. Get the book, people. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, Stefan. That was awesome. I love your stories. I love how animated you are. It just captures everyone's attention. And thank you so much for talking about some of the things in the book. I have also heard that the outhouse is a favorite. So thank you for bringing that up. All right. So actually, before we get to the next guest, I want to take a quick pause and share some exciting news. No, it's not another bouquet of flowers, although that was lovely. And I would love any bouquet of flowers. But no, this was a planned pause here because I want to give you an update on the book sales. So today we have hit #1 new release in 2 categories on Amazon. That is so exciting. I cannot even believe I can say that right now. And the goal is to hit #1 best seller. So #1 new release is amazing. And thank you all so much for your support getting there. Next, because I'm an overachiever, I want to be a bestseller. So help me get there. Even if you have already ordered the book, I'm going to ask you to do me this favor. For today only, the ebook is 99 cents, just 99 cents. And so all that is you kind of donate $1 and that helps us hit #1 bestseller. A little bit of an Amazon hack, but you can all help me get there. And I am counting on you and I know that you can do it. So head there now, or because I know you want to hear what's coming up next, it's going to be an awesome interview. Just make a note. And when we wrap up, go straight to Amazon and get your 99-cent ebook so that we can make it to bestseller. So that was a quick sales update. All right, so now I'm going to introduce our next guest. So our next guest is a friend of mine, also an owner of 2 businesses and an expert in leading remote administrative and operational teams. She has additional training in trauma-informed yoga, yoga nidra, chair yoga, applied polyvagal theory, and somatic yoga. That's a lot. That's a lot of training. She's going to talk a little bit about that. But as the owner of Somatic Yoga Den, Rachel specializes in helping women connect their minds and bodies through somatic, holistic approaches with an emphasis on creativity and nature so that they can increase their body awareness, energy, and motivation while simultaneously relieving stress. So, hello, Rachel, and welcome.
Hi, thank you, Jamie, and congratulations. I'm so excited for you, and this is just such an honor to be here with you and to celebrate this day. Thank you for having me here with you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being here and for all of your support so far. So Rachel actually got one of the first official copies of Buried in Business. And so I have to ask you, what did you think?
Sorry, my hair was looking a little wild there for a second. I'm like, oh, of course. So sorry. Yes. Back to business. So obviously I loved your book. It was amazing. Everything was so true, so correct. Everything in every way. You're an amazing author and you kept my attention the whole way through. I love the exercises at the end of every chapter. They're very thought-provoking. They're easy to use, they're applicable, and I love that they're on your website and also in the book so that you can use them in multiple ways and multiple different times. And I love the whole thing, and I was just like, I couldn't put it down. I was so excited, and I reread certain parts, and I love the outhouse. it was just such a great book. I was really excited.
Thank
And
you.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that amazing feedback. And yes, that's a great point about the exercises. Now, I'm a very action-oriented person, like I said, kind of type A. And so I couldn't resist, number one, putting some metaphors in there, but number two, making an exercise at the end of every chapter to keep the reader engaged. And so, yes, if you have a hard copy of the book, write in it. I am not one of those people that keeps my books absolutely pristine. If you like to write in your book, write in the book. It has spaces for that. But if you need the resources to download and either do it digitally or print them out and handwrite on paper, anyone who orders the book can download all of those graphics and charts that are referenced throughout the book. And in the book, it'll tell you exactly where to go to get them, or you can go to my website and sign up for the bonuses and they'll be emailed directly to you. So thank you for pointing that out. And thank you for your feedback. So now I have a lot of stories in the book. Some of them are very personal. Some of them I, took some creative liberties with to make them more applicable to the point I was trying to get across. But Rachel, if you had to pick one story or situation in the book that you could relate to the most, which one would it be?
I would say actually chapter 10, which you happened to have the video of earlier. You have situations and shortcuts at the end of it. So for the busy leader, we all know that everyone is too busy or they think that they're too busy. So the situations and shortcuts, I think that if somebody were to try one of those, they would see how great that one is. Then I think that they would end up reading the whole book and they would end up trying all of the actual AM house. All of the situations and shortcuts that you have there, I think, are just phenomenal. And I think, chapter 10, where you've put it all together, I really like. I think that for the busy leader, they'll have a really good idea. Obviously, I think that they should read through the whole book, like you've said as well. Don't just go to the end. But if they do, I think that they will see how great your shortcuts are.
Thank you. I'm looking through it right now to see if I can pull one out just to give a quick example. Bear with me for just a second as I'm going through the shortcuts. Well, I won't hold it up. I was trying to kind of go.
There was one, I think it was like a catch-all admin.
Oh, yes, I have them. So that's situation number 2. So in situation number 2 on page 205, you have a catch-all admin person. So the shortcut is, and earlier in the book, we talk about what is a catch-all admin person. Basically, that admin assistant that you hire and doesn't really have a real purpose other than to just do all the crap you give to them. But if that's a situation you're in, we say to define their windows and purpose statement to avoid the helpful admin trap. Do this exercise with your admin and refer to the notes that you took in Appendix A, Windows and Address to guide the conversation. So that refers back to some of the exercises that you were talking about earlier, that if the reader goes through the exercises and then uses them to have conversations with their admin, it can be really, really powerful. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. All right. So now, Rachel, you have over 10 years of telework experience, and that goes back to even before COVID and the whole remote work thing was a hot topic. Can you share a few tips with the audience about leading remote teams and how other virtual business owners or remote managers can use the framework in the book remotely?
Yes. So I actually, as I was going through, I was like, wow, all of this book can be applied remotely, like every single bit of it. So one of the favorite parts here is where you were talking about home maintenance, cleaning up the mess. So you said that most entrepreneurs start their business because of a passion or an opportunity unrelated to the admin of the business. So the product or the service is the focus, and the admin becomes collateral duty. So as the admin roles grow, they become messy. So, like we were just saying, catch-all admins are dangerous, and therefore you need clearly defined houses. So it's really frustrating for the person who becomes that catch-all admin. It also can become very frustrating and stressful and exhausting for the person who is managing the team or the individual who is in that position. You need, as a remote manager, the that manager also needs to have the clearly defined houses, clearly defined roles and profiles, and everything laid out really clearly so that we don't have um, the everything, I guess, buried. Like, so you did have a let's see, it was like you, I also have everything written. So looking to the side, um, you have talked about in moving from the bullpen into separate departments and actual offices left you feeling vacant and lonely, realizing that you needed processes and workflows structured and defined. When you were working so closely and in proximity together, everything was blurred and communicating was easy. But um, this part really stood out to me because when you're working remotely, you're not really physically together, um, but you can be. I mean, if you think about this right now, we're all across the world potentially, and it feels to me, because I work remotely, it feels to me like we are all here together. I mean, a second ago we were on the same screen together, and so if we didn't have the clear AM house model, then we wouldn't be able to make it all work. It's so I've worked for a lot of businesses where I learned that basically that you need this. And the thing is that no one ever had put it into a book. Nobody's ever made it into a model like you have here. Um, and so you put everything organized into a house. Unlike you, I did grow up in construction. So my dad is a builder, and um, all of my family, for the most part, works in construction. And the AM house is such a clever way to organize everything neatly and categorize it all, and to bite-size information for CEOs and admins, business owners to see. So I've come into organizations with RM consulting. I've gone into different organizations to help them create processes and put together. They've started with like 0 employees, no sort of organizational structure, and help them to create an employee handbook and hire employees, create the processes, and basically go through create a village as you've kind of gone through in your book. But I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. And if I had your book back when I had done this I've done it for 3 different businesses. So if I had your book at the time, it would have made it a lot easier. And as an operations manager, and if the business owners had your book, then then I think that everything would have just been a lot easier. It that was a very long answer.
No, all good. I think it's really important to hear from your perspective, having gone through that experience without the guidance of something like Buried in Business, and you just having to create it yourself as you
Yeah.
go is really difficult. And that's the common thing that happens in administration and operations in small businesses, which is why I wrote the book in the first place. Because I just saw that gap. I saw the need for a little bit more direction and more structure when it came to administration. We talk about big corporations. Big corporations have tons of structure, sometimes too much structure. And so I wanted to find that happy medium of how do we get our small businesses to get to the next level without being overly corporate. So I think your example is the perfect example of how this can come into play. So let's talk a little bit more about you. So you own two businesses, Somatic Yoga Den and RM Consulting. Earlier, I called it MP Consulting, and now I know why. I was thinking Malpasso MP. I knew it was your initials. No, it's Rachel Malpasso, RM Consulting.
Yeah.
So just tell us just a couple words about each of those businesses and what you do.
Sure. So Somatic Yoga Den, it's a place where women can come to practice yoga, meditation, forest bathing, women's retreats. At some point, whenever I can finish it, then some self-study courses with Yoga Alliance, all online. And then RM Consulting is basically, like I said, going to businesses to help them with admin challenges. And I didn't like you were talking about in the book, I felt like admin or was kind of a cringy word. And so I never called it admin challenges, but you've empowered me to call it that. And so go to businesses and help them with helping them to set up their businesses, small businesses, where I'm pretty much like their first contractor and helping them to create the structure there, without any sort of idea of what I was doing, to be honest.
Well, now you have a guide.
Yeah, now there's a guide.
Share the book with the businesses you go into to help and say, hey, if you want to continue.
Right. I'm actually going to send the my former companies that I was working with a copy of this. So
That's awesome.
I'll happen to get this.
Yes, that's awesome. All right, so we'll get a little personal here. So when Rachel and I first met, our husbands were deployed together in Afghanistan, and we were both going through some difficult personal times. As I've shared, I was battling breast cancer, and while writing a book or starting a business isn't always directly about the trauma in our lives, sometimes it is. And sometimes it's what propels us to make those decisions or to jump to, a new goal. So Rachel, do you mind sharing a little bit about your story about why you started studying adaptive yoga and started Somatic Yoga Den?
Sure. So I started, our husbands were deployed together, and I had a brain injury right about the same time that you had your cancer diagnosis. And so our husbands came back at the same time. And, it changed my life a lot. And as a part of my recovery, I learned yoga and meditation at a rehab hospital, and I decided to become a yoga teacher. Initially, I thought I would only teach yoga to people, I thought in person. And I also thought that it would just be to people who had brain injuries. But fast forward, and my body, I guess, had other plans. And so that was 2016. In 2018, we bought a new house, and literally, actually, you guys came to our housewarming party. Literally the next day, I was hospitalized for an infection, and I was there for weeks. And I learned that I have a terminal primary immunodeficiency disease. And so I started that, like, really launched me into working remotely to stay away from people and their germs. And so basically, I started working remotely before COVID a long time ago. But then I was like out and about in public. But then now I'm really working remotely. So you know, my brain injury really has kind of impacted how I communicate also. So I feel like I have this nice list of everything, and I'm like, man, if this was a written interview, this would have been so much better. So
I'm sorry. It's from some
but basically, life is short, and I had this idea where I was like, okay, I'm going to create this business. And I mean, even it was this year that I decided I'm going to make somatic yoga den, where I have like forest bathing and women's retreats and all these things, because I just want to have this, and like life is short. And I actually just moved to the mountains because, again, life is short. And like I want to live in the mountains. And so I just moved away from you, and now I live in Roanoke.
Well, my husband is very jealous of all of that because he wants to move in the mountains also, but that's not in the cards for us just yet. But it's just very inspiring to hear your story, Rachel, because life is short. And like I said, sometimes these events in our lives give us the confidence and propel us to do something outside of the normal kind of life timeline, I guess you would say, to try something new. And I witnessed your journey going into yoga and starting to become certified and practice, and then form your own practice. And it's been really exciting to see, and I can see how much joy it brings to you. So thank you for sharing that with us. And so we will transition now, and thank you, Rachel, so much for coming on and sharing your feedback and some of your advice on the remote work with us.
Yeah. Can I share one final thought real quick?
Yes.
Okay, great. So last thought, as a business owner, I did learn a lot of the stress. So even though I have gone into companies to try to help them with some of these things, I have learned that at Somatic Yoga Den that I needed someone to help me with my own administrative tasks that I hate. So I hate, and I am not good at, marketing and social media. And so I was like, I need to hire someone to do this for me. And then I also realized that I made all the same mistakes that I get really annoyed at other people for making. And so then as I was reading this, I was like, okay, so even though I like barely have anything for my own business here within yoga, I need to apply this to my own business. And so I started to do that as well, going through and started to make my own AM house for my own employees, because I do have 3 employees for Somatic Yoga Den. And I was going through and starting to make the changes for them, and I think they'll probably really appreciate it, because I realized that I'm probably not the best boss myself.
No, that's really exciting. And that's interesting because I heard something recently from another very, very well-known author. I think she was a parenting author, and I'm sorry, the name escapes me right now, but she said, I admit I only follow about 30% of my own advice. And that was refreshing to hear as a fellow author, because I can write all this stuff down, and I feel, everything behind it, that it's true, and I believe in what I'm saying. But when push comes to shove and you're in a real world environment, sometimes it's hard to really put into practice all the things that that we should be doing. So thank you for admitting that. And Hannah, I would love to introduce you, because I think that's a perfect transition to share with the audience that as I was getting ready for this big launch, I had the same epiphany as Rachel. And I like to introduce to you Hannah, whom I brought on when I realized I was buried in this book launch and I needed to bring in some help. So I reached out to Hannah, and she has been absolutely wonderful in helping me organize this event, help me do some of the marketing. And I would love to just have a quick conversation about the book with her and to share with all of you. So hi, Hannah.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here with you and all of these special guests who have had a really special role in either the development of your book, Buried in Business, or the launch of it. So thank you for having me with you.
Thank you for doing all of this. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. And I got a sneak peek into your book, Buried in Business, as well. So I have a handful of questions, as one curious mind does, for you. And I'd love to ask those to you today.
All right, let's do it.
One of the first questions I have is the why. Why did you write Buried in Business?
That is the big question, isn't it? So, as I kind of shared earlier on, after going through something like cancer, and my daughter's voice in my head of just be confident, kind of giving me that confidence to try new things, to challenge myself in ways that I hadn't before, and not to be afraid to go after big goals. That's really what started it. I think I've always had, as many people do, always have that kind of bucket list item of, I'd really like to write a book one day. And I've read statistics on just how many millions of people say that and how few actually follow through. And one of my strengths is follow through. So when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So when I told myself I'm going to write this book, I decided that was it. I was going to make the investment. Like I said earlier, I hired Mariana, my coach, my writing coach, to help me through it. And honestly, it really came from just reading a lot of leadership books. I love leadership books. There's a lot of amazing books out there. I was reading so many of them, and I just thought there was a gap. There was a gap in this administrative role. And I was in a lot of situations, and I share some of the stories in the book. And one of them was when I was sitting down with my boss, and we were talking about my title, and I was making this transition from being in a management role to a more leadership executive role. And we were talking about what my title was going to be. And he had suggested Vice President of Administration. And for whatever reason, that title made me cringe. I was like, no way. There was no way I was going to take that title, because I felt like it didn't hold the same amount of weight as just being vice president or vice president of operations or another version of that. And that made me step back and ask myself, why does the word administration have a stigma about it? Why would it make me cringe? Because if I'm talking to another administrative professional, I absolutely understand the value that they bring to an organization. And if I understand their value, why would I devalue that in myself? So that's why I started really digging into administration and how can I write a book that dismantles that stigma, that helps us rethink the way that we structure admin so it's not so messy, and restores the respectability.
Well, for all of those reasons, Jamie, I know I am so thankful for you starting this book, because it has helped me in so many different ways in starting my own business. So thank you. Now, Rachel mentioned this earlier, and so I'd love to ask you a little bit more about the A frame house. What is the significance of that?
Yeah, so this was something in the book that developed along the way. I started it with a metaphor of a room, because I had this vision of, okay, there's this admin in the room, and what are the tools that they need to succeed? And the windows, like Stefan saying, the windows representing the information and the workflows coming in and out of that person's role. And as I was talking about it, I had also recently gone on a rafting trip with my family, with my husband and my 2 older kids. We went on a rafting trip. We now do that every year. And we went down the river, and up on the hills. We would see these really pretty houses. Some of them were really elaborate. Some of them were small. Some of them were just kind of like camping cabins. But like a true mountain house, a lot of them were these A-frame houses. And the idea came to me that the metaphor wasn't a room. The metaphor was a house. That way we could really talk about the foundation of the house. We could talk about weathering the storms. We could talk about a door, the doorway, the entry door coming in and out, hiring and termination. And we could talk about cracks in the foundation. If we're only talking about a room, we couldn't bring it as far as it really needed to go. So once I had the inspiration from our mountain trip, then I decided the A-frame house was the perfect way to go.
How unique. And also, as an active podcast listener and book reader, these are areas that are not included in a lot of these leadership books or podcasts. It's not talked about. So I'm so grateful again that you said yes and talked about that in your book, providing the framework.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that I can get this book in as many president, CEO, business owners' hands as possible, because here's the thing, the admins, they already know this stuff. It's getting the message to the leaders, because those are the ones that have the most influence and the most impact on their team. There's, a lot of books out there also, not just on the leadership side, but on kind of self-motivation. And an admin can pick up a book about self-motivating and career development, and they should do all of those things. And that's going to help them progress in their career. But there is more leverage if you can speak to the leaders of the business to help pull the admin up, instead of them constantly trying to push themselves up into maybe a structure that doesn't have the right framework to see, to unlock their power. Really, like the title says, we're unlocking the power of your admin team, because there is a lot of hidden power in there that goes either unnoticed, unvalued, or unused.
Absolutely, Jamie. And you guys heard it, all of you business leaders and CEOs. This is the next step, is reading this book so you can implement it in your corporation or throughout your team. Now, also, Jamie, as a fellow perfectionist and type A personality, I know that this book means so much to you, and getting it just perfect is really important. So I imagine there was just writing and rewriting, take 1, take 2, take 3. Now, what did we miss that maybe didn't make the cut in this book?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. In the beginning of the book, I went in a lot of different directions, just trying to find my way and figure out the flow. And Mariana helped me organize that in a way that made sense. A story that didn't make the cut. That's a great question. I will say that, there are a lot of true stories in the book, and I worked with Merrick Publishing to make sure that we kept everything very confidential. We changed the names of the people, we changed the names of the organizations, and people who are in the book, I have personally reached out to share that with them so that they could read it and I could have their blessing before it was published, even though we weren't using their name. But I will say that there are a couple of stories in the book that I had to tone down a little bit so as not to paint anyone into a negative light. And that I didn't write the original out of any kind of animosity. I was just trying to tell the true story. But out of respect for, people who may be reading the book, I didn't want to go too deep into some of the situations. So, there's a story in there about an organization that I was a part of prior to my current one, where there was a lot of micromanagement going on. And I had to really take, okay, what are the lessons that we can learn from this? Not to point fingers at anybody, but like, what are the lessons that we can learn from some of that micromanagement that was going on, and work it into the framework so that we can help people avoid those situations in the future.
I love that. And you can really tell that you are such an introspective person. It really shines throughout this entire book. So we're really lucky to get the inside scoop on some of the lessons that you've learned and so graciously have shared with us in Very Good Business.
Thank you. And I'll share a couple little like sneak peeks, not sneak peeks, but kind of behind the scenes, similar to the question about what didn't make it. So I will tell you, the very first title for this book was Dear Mr. Boss. And I still think it's a cool title. But the premise of the book was I was going to try to solicit letters from people who had male bosses, whether, the people that wrote the letters could be male, female, non-binary, whomever, but it was really directed towards these male bosses. And I thought I would get some really interesting feedback from people on that, of like, what would you always want to tell your boss, but you never could? And you could do it in an anonymous way and no one would ever know. And I could collect all of these letters and kind of compile it into a book. So that's one of those things that not so much it didn't make it into the book, but it was an initial idea what the book could have been. But I ended up taking it in a totally different direction. I'm glad I did, though, because it would have been hard to put that together in a way that would be truly helpful for people.
Wow, that is so interesting. I never knew that. I do also like the title, but again, I'm so grateful that you went with your gut and shared what you have included in Very Good Business. One of the quotes that really stuck out to me that made me affirm this is the book that I need to read right now was the do whatever it takes gusto of a startup is exciting, but the longevity of managing a do whatever it takes team is exhausting. And I found myself in that same position. And I'm curious to ask you, Jamie, what do you hope people take away after reading your book, Very Good Business?
What I want people to take away from it is that the leaders in these small businesses need to spend just a little bit more time giving their admin clarity and authority. I mean, those are the two things that I think are so important. There's a lot of things throughout the book that are important, purpose and workflows and all of that. But if we can just give them more clarity and more authority, a big thing that I talk about a lot, and I'll do this in workshops when people bring me into their organizations, they want to talk about delegation. Delegation's a really hot topic. And my whole thing is, hey, if you have this framework, delegation's already built into it. You don't need to figure out how to delegate if you have a strong framework. It's already there. But the other part of delegation isn't just telling someone what to do. It's empowering them to act on your behalf. And that empowerment aspect is really important, because you're empowering them to make decisions within whatever parameters you define. And I think that's especially important in admin, because a lot of admin will say, I don't have the authority to make any decisions. And that's a really deflating feeling. And so in order to empower your admin team and to unlock that potential, you really have to give them the autonomy and the authority to make decisions. You can define the parameters, but you have to give them some of that authority and autonomy.
So powerful, Jamie. I'm sure that inspires other people watching to get a copy of your book, Very Good Business, now if they haven't already. I know I purchased my copy already on pre-order, but as you mentioned earlier, I'm going to make sure to order that ebook and donate a portion of Here for the Girls, because what an incredible cause. Jamie, that wraps up some of the questions that I prepared for you. I just want to thank you again for helping me get unburied in my business. And I'm so excited for the launch of your book. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah, so much for all of your help and support in putting this together. Thank you for spreading the word. And like I said earlier, we did reduce the ebook to just 99 cents to help us hit that #1 bestseller. So don't forget to go do that. And to send us out, I am going to, #1, raise a toast for the official launch of Buried in Business and our launch event. And I will carry us out with a reading from the very last chapter. This is chapter 11, our wrap-up parting words. So, business owners are driven by passion and focused on revenue to scale, but the internal framework must also be strong to support the growth. Neglecting this framework will lead to wasted resources spent fighting fires and overcompensating for inefficiencies. A solid AM village will help raise your company to new heights. While we cannot solve every issue you will encounter as a leader in your company, we can construct a model that appreciates the individual and clarifies the structures for the benefit of everyone in the company. I believe there is a stigma and a stereotype around administrative professionals in small businesses. Through reading this book and going through the exercises, we have designed a structure that clarifies and empowers those administrators. My goal is to help you rethink the administrative functions in your business to dismantle the stigma. Implementation of the Adminovate model will lead to stronger companies and more opportunities for admins in previously pigeonholed positions. The talents in your existing teams can help build the framework to scale your business. There is potential trapped in your organization. You hold the keys to unlock it. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Hannah, and thank you to all of my guests today. This was absolutely a blast and well exceeded my expectations for the event. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day.